to FavorFirm.com. My name is Joe Cortez, former international boxing referee from Las Vegas, Nevada, the boxing capital of the world. Now, talking about great fights, we got some great ones coming up, but let's talk a little bit about the past. We had the former great welterweight, middleweight champion, the great Emile Griffith, passing away a couple of weeks ago. I remember Emile Griffith as being a great welterweight, but I remember him fighting Benny Kid Paret in 1961, and Benny Kid Paret, as you all know, was really basically pummeled to death that night in Madison Square Garden. But prior to that fight, Benny Kid Paret had fought Gene Fullmer for the middleweight championship about 4 or 5 months prior to fighting Emile Griffith, which today they probably would not let a fighter get knocked out and fight 4 or 5 months later with another tough opponent, because the laws are a little more stringent these days as far as safety is concerned with the boxing game. But Emile Griffith that night in Madison Square Garden was taking a pounding from Emile Griffith, and I think it was in the late rounds, and I believe it was in the 12th round, not sure, but it was the late rounds, and Griffith was pummeling Emile Griffith, who was in a concussive episode and was already unconscious in the corner, taking a brutal beating by Emile Griffith. Took 14 to 15 unanswered punches. His head was like a rag doll. He was just getting hit. And then all of a sudden, when the referee Ruby Goldstein finally separated Griffith, Paret just rumbled right in his corner, hanging onto the ropes and onto the canvas, unconscious, and never regained consciousness. Now they rushed him to the Roosevelt Hospital and was there for a number of days. And I remember visiting Benny Kid Paret at the hospital with the great Gaspar Indian Ortega. Gaspar Indian Ortega was my mentor who got me started in boxing. And Gaspar Ortega had beaten Benny Kid Paret while Paret was world champion, but it was a non-title fight. And unfortunately, Gaspar never got a title match against Paret. Gaspar had 185 professional fights, and Griffith ended up giving Gaspar a shot for the title, but Gaspar at the age of 24 already had 81 professional fights under his belt. So Gaspar was not at the prime of his career, even though he was only 24 when he fought Griffith for the title. But again, like I said, 81 professional fights under his belt at the time. If you check him out on BoxRec, you'll see that he had, in 1 year, he had something like 20-some-odd fights in 1 year. I think it was 27 to be exact. And there were times he was fighting 2 or 3 times a week. They were fighting a bunch of palookas, but that was in 1965 when he was fighting just to say a farewell to his great boxing career. But not too many fighters can go around saying that they had 185 professional fights. The great Archie Moore had like 200-some-odd fights, and Willie Pett, a featherweight, also had something like 200 professional fights. But that's back in the old days. Today you can get 10 fighters cannot combine a total of 200 fights. So anyway, Benny Kid Paret, I remember visiting him in his bedroom at the hospital with Gaspar Ortega. I remember touching his left side of his arm, and he was still warm, but he was all bandaged up for the surgery that he had to remove the blood clot. But it was too late, and he passed away days later. It was a sad night for boxing. And Emile Griffith, who was a great welterweight, went on to fight Dick Tiger for the middleweight championship of the world and became middleweight champion by appointing Dick Tiger. But Griffith was never really the same type of a fighter after the fight he had with Benny Kid Paret. And every time he had a fighter hurt, he would kind of back off a little bit. I guess in his subconscious mind, he would think about the Benny Kid Paret incident. And again, you know, some fighters are never the same after they have a tragic ending in boxing. And that was an unfortunate night for boxing. Talking about fighters never being the same. Oh, by the way, I want to just say, Emile Griffith, we love you. May your soul rest in peace. Okay? Talking about fighters never being the same. Manny Pacquiao is fighting Brandon Rios. As you all know, Manny Pacquiao has come off a loss to Manny Marquez, knockout. It was a tragic knockout. It was an unbelievable knockout because nobody would ever thought that Manny Pacquiao would go out the way he did in that fight. And most fighters, you know, when they want to retire, they don't want to retire with a loss. Now he's fighting Rios in Macau, China, this coming fall. And I'm just hoping that those involved, his trainer, the referees, the commissions, everybody takes a close look at Manny Pacquiao. We don't want to see a great fighter like him. Talking about great, he will definitely be inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in years to come because he's very well deserving of that award. Now, Manny Pacquiao, I would tell the referee who's going to be refereeing that night to please be on your toes that night, making sure that the doctors are in place, making sure you want to give him a fair share because, you know, Manny is known to be could take a pounding and come back strong, but you know, fighters are never the same after a knockout. Like I said before, it was a bad knockout, and I just wish that Freddie Roach, his trainer, and everybody involved will, if you have to stop it, stop it. You know, when you know your fighter better than anybody else. That's what I tell the trainers when I was refereeing. I tell the trainers, if your fighter's taking too much punishment, know when to stop it, stop it. Now, talking about up-and-coming fights, we have Floyd Mayweather Jr. fighting Canelo Alvarez. Saul Canelo Alvarez is a rising star, 23 years old, from Mexico, well loved by all fans around the world. He's like an overnight sensation in boxing because they want to see young blood in the game, and you know, this fresh blood, this fresh talent of Canelo Alvarez, who's a great puncher, brings a lot of charisma to the sport of boxing, and he's going to have his hands full against Mayweather Jr. But Mayweather Jr. is not going to be a stroll in the park for Mayweather because Mayweather can be dropped like anybody else out there because Canelo has that punch. I'm going to demonstrate to you a little bit of what I think both fighters should be doing to offset one another. And this is what it will look like. See, Canelo Alvarez is a great body puncher and has a great right-hand punch. Now, remember when he fought Austin Trout, he dropped Trout with a wicked, straight right-hand punch. So Canelo has the power behind his punches, okay? And he has a good body punch. You ask Joselito Lopez that I referee against Canelo Alvarez. As a matter of fact, it was my last fight in boxing. It was my last world title fight and my last one when I retired September 12th of 2012. Okay, and here's what Canelo Alvarez should be doing. Canelo, again, like I said, he comes in with a good jab, okay? But he has a great left hook to the body, down here, okay? And I feel that he should double up on a left hook, not only to the body, but here and here. Those are the two left, here and here. But now remember, he's going to go with the right hand. But Mayweather, when you throw a punch at Mayweather, Mayweather's already moving back, and he has a good lateral movement. He can move. He'll be moving. He's not going to be standing in one place. So if you're going to throw the punches to Mayweather, Mayweather can block. He'll block it. He can counter punch. So this is what Canelo should be doing. Here, he got to step forward because Mayweather will be going back. You got to step forward with the right hand. So it's here, okay? Those are the three punches I think that Canelo should be using. Now, I realize I hit so hard, I pushed his dummy around, but you notice I cut off his arms so he doesn't push me back. Mayweather has a tendency coming up sometimes with the elbow, but when he's coming up with the elbow, what he's doing, he's blocking. You know, he's not hitting you with it, he's not coming in with the elbow, he's blocking, but if you're going to run into the elbow, you got to be careful. So it's not illegal, it's only illegal when you come here and you're going forward with it. But if you're blocking here, there's nothing in the rule book that says you cannot block this way, any way you want. But I noticed that Mayweather lately has not been coming up with the elbow too much in the last couple of fights. But Mayweather will pull back here. He's good with the jab. He's always moving. He'll throw you with the right hand, you know, but he's always moving. He's always moving. Never staying in one place. He'll move, bang, bang, bang. He'll jab you, and he'll throw those punches. So this is what Mayweather would be doing, I believe. Yeah. If he had. Mayweather is quick with his punches, and he has great defense. He's always said, I like to hit and don't get hit. So my prediction for that night is going to be a great fight. I believe that Canelo has the power of a good right hand, a good body shot. Let's see what happens come September 14th. Talk to you next week.